I'm a scientist studying human mating, and today I'm going to tell you exactly how lean women want men to be. A lot of what you see online in this topic is basically nonsense. It's just guys speculating about what women want based on their personal experience. But today we'll talk about a recent study from Zia and colleagues that actually investigated what body fat percentage women prefer. I'm very happy to have this study on my desk because when men ask me about muscularity, I can confidently say that unless you have incredible genetics and train like a maniac, or you're taking some extracurricular supplements, you're never going to be too muscular for most women. Not likely. But when men ask me about leanness, it's much harder to give a clear answer. And I think this study is clarifying. So they had women from China, Lithuania, and the UK review 15 DXA images of men with confirmed body fat percentages and rank them on their attractiveness. Then the researchers used body fat percentage, BMI, and shoulder to waist ratio as predictors to see how these variables predicted each man's attractiveness ranking. Now, of course, looking at printed DXA images isn't the same as looking at a real man in real life, but the results are informative all the same. Take a look at this graph. You can see that attractiveness peaks in all three countries around 13 to 14.2% body fat. Now, most people underestimate their own body fat percentage. Very few of you will have touched sub 10 unless you're a weight class athlete or a actual bodybuilder. If you look at examples of men who have actually confirmed their body fat around this range, you'll see that it's surprisingly lean. Now, going back to the graph, you can see that there is a clear Goldilocks zone. There is such thing as too lean. Now, the punishment for being too lean is less than the punishment for being not lean enough. But if you can see this, you can see that being 5% body fat, ridiculously lean, that is stage ready, is about as attractive to the average woman as being 20 to 23% body fat, which is quite soft, frankly. And I think women's preferences make sense here, evolutionarily. I mean, first, 13 to 14.2% body fat, that's a very good body fat percentage to have from a health perspective. The authors note that. And in an evolutionary survival context, you're not starving anytime soon with that amount of body fat. You're athletic and healthy, but you at least have some reserve to draw on. And I think it also makes sense from a formidability perspective. Women historically have used mates as bodyguards against other men. And so I think one plausible way you can partially back engineer women's preferences is to ask what natural physique would be most intimidating. Tall, yes, women like height. Broad, yes, women like broad guys. Strong, yes, women love muscles. And with leanness, we can ask the question, what would be the scariest body fat composition to face in a fight? Is it an obese physique? No, but it's also probably not a stage-ready bodybuilder. The scariest athlete would probably be somewhere in between those two poles, which is exactly what women say they prefer. Now, a few men listening will have been below 8% body fat, incredibly lean, and they'll tell you from quote-unquote personal experience that women love this. Now, assuming this isn't fabrication or misperception, it may just be the case that the percentage of women who want a hyper-lean man is larger than the percentage of men who are hyper-lean. I think it's the same thing with being heavily tattooed or extraordinarily muscular or incredibly tall, right past the ideal tallness, somewhere around 6'7". Even if it's too much for the average woman, the preference for the extreme expression of the trait is so much more common than the extreme expression of the trait itself that men who express this phenotype paradoxically receive more attention, even if it is less desired than the average woman. That's one possibility to keep in mind here and broadly when thinking about mate preferences. Now, on the other end, some of you listening may not be very lean, and if that's you, remember that women's preferences are very diverse. And more importantly, most women care about many more things than how you look shirtless when choosing a life partner. Until next time.